administration bets continue to dominate pre-election surveys. In the latest from OCTA, Tulfo brothers Erwin and Ben have a commanding lead. Senator Bongo took third spot, followed by former Senate President Tito Soto. Senator Bong Revilla ranked between 4th to 11th, statistically tied with Willie Revillame. Also within the same ranking are former Senator Ping Lacson and incumbent Pia Cayetano. Rounding out the top 12 were Manny Pacquiao, Amy Marcos, Lito Lapid, and Benhur Abalos. OCTA Research said they surveyed 1,200 voters across the nation from January 25 to 31 this year.
To help us make more sense of these survey numbers, we have with us...
We have Professor Guido David of the OCTA Research Group joining us via Zoom. Good morning, Prof. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, good morning, friends, and advance Happy Hearts Day.
Yes.
And good morning to our viewers and listeners also.
Oh, you're wearing red.
You're wearing red ata, Prof, no?
Pares tayo. Okay, first off, Prof, what's the Survey Commission? Yan ang isa pa sa mga tinatanong natin. Can you tell us more about it?
Well, we conduct a quarterly non-commissioned surveys, so which means na we cover the cost of it, the group. And then this was conducted January 25 to 31, 2025, with 1,200 respondents nationwide. So the sampling error is plus minus 3%.
And based sa mga numbers na nakikita nyo, Prof, na and yung mga numbers that you had before, nung hindi pa official yung campaign period, ano yung mga sa tingin nyo is very notable in terms of movement sa candidates? Kasi I'm looking at it and I see Willie Revillame, who was not part of the top 12 initially, no?
Yeah, actually, you just mentioned yung significant movement, and that is si Willie Revillame. And he climbed up to all the way to number 6 from somewhere, maybe around the outside the top 12 or maybe within the top 12. Kasi when I look at surveys, I usually look at different survey results. I don't just base it on one. Ganun din ginagawa nila sa US when they had the recent elections. So that was the significant movement. The rest are sort of still there. It's going to be a tight competitive race. A lot of names, especially the numbers 9 to 16, maybe even 17 or 18, pwede nating isama. Those are all, competitive and with having, fair chance of getting into the top 12. So it's going to be a tight race. We'll see what happens. It's still, we still have 3 months to go, so anything can still happen from now until then.
I'd like just to touch up a little on kay Will, no? Kasi notable movement yan eh. You see the other candidates kasi may presence sila either through billboards, they have presence through several ads. So Will has not been visible except, I guess, yung kanyang show na ini-air, no? So what do you think contributed to this rise in his numbers?
Well, obviously, it's fair to say na si Will is a personality who has a high level of awareness all over the country, and that has contributed. I'm not sure about social media campaigns or endorsements. And you're right. The rest of the top 12 are mostly notable personalities, mga former senators, yung iba incumbents. Actually, advantage pa nga yung mga ibang former. I mean, most of those in the top 5 hindi naman incumbent. I count, only a few, 2 or 3 incumbents in the top 5 usually, or top 6. And then a lot of them are new names. Of course, we have the Tulfo brothers still going strong, number 1 and 2. So that hasn't changed. Although, it's possible that could change parating na elections. The wild card here is obviously si Will. I mean, he could get into as high as, maybe top 3. It's possible. Then we also have an incumbent, Senator Bongo, and then si Tito Soto is also, always high in these polls. And then Bong Revilla among others.
Prof, the survey was done from January 25 to 31. This is before the impeachment complaint versus or against VP Sara. Sa tingin niyo po ba anong yung mga issues sa likod po nitong mga survey na ito na nangyari noong January to 25 to 31?
Well, we always have issues like yung prevailing one, of course, yung challenges natin about the economy, may issue din about the budget that was brought up. So may mga iba-ibang issues, may issues even sa mga on a smaller scale, may West Philippine Sea, yung POGO, these are issues. And then yung crime or law and order is always an issue sa mga kababayan natin. So these factor in. And, I'd like to think na yung mga kababayan natin will generally vote on issues and platforms rather than on just personalities and, kung sino yung sikat. Remember, kung may mga nakikinig dyan, we're voting for the future of the country. And these people will represent us, will make laws and make policies. So we want to vote those who can help us and who will help us and who have possibly a track record na may nagawa na sila for the public.
Pero Prof, do you think kung gagawa ulit ng survey anchoring on what happened nga ngayon sa House of Representatives, yung kanilang impeachment complaint, sa tingin nyo ba it will make a difference? Kasi sabi nga nila yung fate ni VP Sara will lie nga doon sa magiging conviction ng Senado.
Well, it will make a difference, obviously, just outcome of what will transpire sa June when they have this, hearing on the impeachment case. But what we're seeing, even this even with the news over the past months, yung top 12 comprises, hindi naman puro admin candidates lang. There are a few independents, may mga admin candidates mostly, but there are also those who lean towards the Duterte family. And that's because when we look at the breakdown of the surveys, hindi siya consistent. So NCR will have a different top 12, pero Mindanao will have a different top 12. So some of them will be very strong in Mindanao, and then they will get some votes outside Mindanao, maybe Central Visayas, and then a few more votes balanced Luzon. And when they put them all together, then they can make the top 12. So iba-iba eh. So it's a different case. So yung impeachment, it's just one issue, and I don't think that will solely dictate kung anong voting ng mga kababayan natin, but that's just my opinion. So we'll see what happens when we have our newer survey or our next survey. Baka magbago nga yung results, and that could prove me wrong.
Prof, I'd like to touch up a little on one candidate also, si Senator Bato de la Rosa. In your numbers, medyo mababa siya dito consistently, pero in another survey from another firm, they had him move up higher. In fact, ang dami nga from the Duterte brand na tumaas sa ibang survey. How do you go about this in terms of where do you get your sample size so that yung mga kababayan natin at least will understand bakit dito mataas, bakit dito mababa?
Well, of course, yung sampling ng iba-ibang surveys, sometimes they can differ sa local. Some may have more sa Mindanao, some may have less. We have been consistent. And to be fair to Senator Bato de la Rosa, I mean, although number 16 siya sa survey, he's still within the top 12 statistically. So, kung titingnan natin yung number 10 to 16, dikit-dikit rin naman sila eh. So, any one of them could be in the could make it to the top 12. Even those outside the 16, I mean, I think si former Senator Kiko Pangilinan, number 17, he could still make it. I mean, we can't rule that out. I mean, even si Bam Aquino, who's also outside the top 16, may also, make it. So it depends kung ano. I mean, we're just starting the campaign period, so a lot of things can still change. I won't say na may guaranteed. Siguro, I mean, if they're in the top 6, siguro I would feel very good about their chances. Pero, we can't make guarantees in this.
Kumaga, Prof, before I move on to Angel, kumaga you're telling me if you're within the top 6, more or less, yung movement dyan will be very minimal already. ang magiging critical dito is the 7 all the way going down to the 15. So in other words, if you're 7 to 13, pwedeng bumagsak ka pa to the 13th or 15th. So dapat hindi sila magpakampante.
Exactly, kasi well, I would go as far as 7 to 20 kasi
okay.
if we look at historical records, yung mga previous elections natin, sometimes may mga ibang mga number 10, 11, 12 pagdating ng elections nalalaglag sila. I mean, somehow, some of the others below them move up somehow. May mga kumaga sa horse race, may mga late surges pa na nangyayari.
Or mga late bloomers.
Yes. May mga dark horse, pero I don't expect many dark horses doon sa mga below the top 20, especially those who are getting mga less than 5%. It's very difficult na to mount a campaign with 3 months to go and bring your numbers up from 5% to 30%. Pero those, yun nga, within the top 20, anybody still has a fair chance.
Pero having said that, Prof, do you think na, kasi I remember nung sila Senator Raffy Tulfo yung kumakandidato alongside with Senator Robin Padilla, 'di ba, ang constant number 1 sa survey si Senator Tulfo, 'di ba? Pero pagdating ng eleksyon, nagulat din ang lahat na it's Senator Robin Hood Padilla yung nag-top 1. Diba? So do you think meron din ganun na magiging senaryo this midterm elections?
It's very possible, and that's why na-mention
Sino nakikita mo na po pwedeng gumanon, biglang umarangkada?
Well, ang isang nakikita natin possible si Will, because even without campaigns, he's already, top 6 right now. So pwede pang umarangkada. So it's true, nobody predicted si Senator Robin Hood to get to number 1 sa previous elections. And may mga surprises pa because sometimes there may be, we know there are some religious organizations who vote, medyo, consistently and they will vote for certain candidates, and that could make the difference between number 1 and number 2. So that can be a factor. And then, yun nga, kung minsan may mga pasabog na lumalabas late sa certain candidates, that could also affect some of the, those in the top.
But but what about Senator Amy Marcos, Prof? Kasi right now, parang sabi nga nila, she's hanging on a limbo. Kasi hindi natin alam kung papasok ba siya o hindi. Depende pa rin yan dun sa mga mangyayari during the campaign. Pero ano sa tingin mo, Prof, yung po pwede niyang gawin para makapasok siya talaga sa Magic 12 consistently?
Well, based on what I'm hearing, anecdotally at least, a lot of people are confused about where her position is. And I think this has affected how she's yung positioning niya sa mga polls. And you're right, we heard some candidates have spent a significant amount of money sa pre-election campaigns. Even before now, up to last year pa lang yun, and they've already spent a significant amount of money. And in the case of Senator Amy Marcos, yun nga, I think there's some there's lack of clarity about sa position niya with regard to certain issues. I think personally, from how I see it, it's clear to me where she stands, but I think it's not clear to a lot of the public where she stands. And that's why, when we started polling noong 2023 for senators, she was actually top 5, and and she's no longer top 5. She's, like you said, hanging there. Maybe in the top 12 in some surveys, but there's other surveys na she's not. She's outside the top 12. So, yun nga. It's not clear kung where she stands on some issues. I think that has affected.
Prof, this morning I was reading about yung mga bailiwicks of certain candidates, and I'd like to understand further. Baka you could help me out. Sa North, it seems like the North has delivered consistently as a bloc. And even if you look at the numbers now, the North is continuing to deliver the ratings or the rankings for their candidates. I'm looking at the South. When you look at the South, Prof, parang the only part of the South that is solid sa Duterte brand is the Davao area. But it looks like that medyong bumababa ang Duterte brand sa South. Now, do you see the Northern Bloc eating up into this portion of the Mindanao area, Prof?
Well, yes, it's possible. I mean, and there are candidates who are also strong in Mindanao, like the Tulfos. We see that they're also strong in Mindanao, and there are also some other candidates, like of course, Sina Manny Pacquiao, who also strong in the South, and so these things, ano naman to very sensitive to. So depending on the issues, what's happening. But so far, I think ano pa rin naman, solid pa rin naman yung support ni Senator Bongo at ni Senator Bato sa Mindanao.
I'd like to ask lang kasi, di ba, may North, may South, Tita Duterte sa South, si Marcos sa North, but there are certain groups who don't belong to any of those areas. That's, for example, yung progressive groups na kinabibilangan nila Franz Castro, no? Do you think, Makabayan, no? But do you think they have a slim chance of breaking into the Senate, maybe tapping into a little bit on both sides of the votes?
Well, nothing's impossible. Of course, we can't rule anything out. Yung polls surveys are not predictive naman. It's just meant to capture the current sentiment. And they can definitely do that. The runway's medyo short for them to, to get, to recruit more voters. And I think they have to campaign hard in order to get to that end goal. And yun nga. But of course, people like Franz Castro, for example, I mean, they have to sway votes from the South, and I'm not sure how they are perceived from the South or from the North. So we probably need more data to get to that. Or I mean, I have an idea anecdotally of what I hear from people, yung mga perceptions sa kanila, and I think they have to swing and make some parang campaign lang naman yan, parang marketing lang naman yan, to convince people that they're the right people, persons for the job of senator, and that they can help the public. I mean, may nag-comment na hindi naman tayo masyadong issues-based, but I think the Filipinos can be issues-based, and so far, baka we're just focusing on some issues and not the others.
So, Prof, last na lang, very quickly. Lito Lapid. Di ba, yung mga nakakausap namin, hindi daw nila nararamdaman sa Senado or hindi rin nararamdaman masyado yung campaign, and yet nakakasama pa rin siya sa mga nanalo. Your thoughts on that po?
Well, obviously his
based on the numbers.
Yes, his exposure in the public eye helps a lot, kasi a lot of yung national elections are based on awareness. If you're a known personality, that helps. That's a big part. And these are some of the things that are not in the favor of people like Sina Franz Castro. Their awareness is not as high as people like Lito Lapid. And but again, I remind people to do their own research, pag-aralan nila yung mga candidates nila, and maybe listen to your program, News and Views, and you will interview some of the candidates for sure, and or feature some of them, and para makilala rin ng mga kababayan natin. Some of these people baka hindi pa natin masyadong kilala, but they could actually serve the country well if they're put in the position to help the country and the government.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Professor Guido David from OCTA Research Group. Thank you.